Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well and staying safe during this lockdown. As Elton said, thank God my music's still alive, and I hope the music's helping you through this crisis wherever you are and wherever you're watching this video. I know I've got some followers over there in the United States, so a special hello to you there. Today I'm reviewing The Captain and the Kid, Elton John's 2006 album. It was his 28th studio album. It followed Peachtree Road, and it preceded by 7 years the Diving Board album. Of course, Elton was busy during this time with his musical projects, with his film writing projects, so there was still plenty of music being produced and written by him during this time. So what do we make of this album? Well, it was kind of a follow-up album to Captain Fantastic. It came up from a suggestion from one of his friends that he should do something to complement that original album, which many regard as a classic. So a little booklet we get with the disc here, and some enjoyable pictures from Elton John's past there. Some of those I haven't seen before. There's the front of A Single Man, of course, before we actually get to the lyrics themselves. So that's quite a nice thing to have there, and there's the CD itself. Mostly up until now I've been reviewing Elton's 1970s albums, but I have to say I do enjoy his output from the 2000s as well. He was 59 when he sang on this album. His voice has changed, but so what? That happens to a lot of artists, and people like Johnny Cash and Van Morrison were still singing some fantastic vocals late in their lives. Of course, Van Morrison still is. So this is the CD now. It's a bit of a curiosity because there's 10 tracks on it, offering us 46 minutes of music. But then at the time, there's another hidden track within it, an 11th track, which you could only access by downloading on your computer. Now, of course, lots of us now have got computers without disk drives, so it's pretty difficult to access that 11th hidden track. But it is available on YouTube and other listening services. So I'm going to include that in my review, but not the mysterious 12th track called 12. There's some lyrics on the album for that, but as far as we know, there's no tune existing for that. Perhaps Elton will get around to writing one of these days. So let's have a look now at the tracks in order. The album opener is Postcards from Richard Nixon. This tells the story of Elton and Bernie's first transatlantic crossing and their arrival in the States. Perhaps there was a sign up there from the president saying, "Welcome to the USA." It's about their battle to make it in the USA, and it name checks people like Brian Wilson and Steve McQueen. Did Bernie really see Steve McQueen? That must have been some event. It's a decent opener. There's some an engaging hook in it. There's some good backing vocals. There's a nice backbeat. And overall, I would say this is a pretty good opener to the album, without necessarily being an all-time favourite track. But it starts the album well, and we're going to give this one 7 out of 10. Track 2 is Just Like Noah's Ark. It's a good rocker, this one. The strident piano to start. It's a barroom rocker, maybe with a bit of a Van Morrison feel to this, and a good hook in the chorus when Elton sings Just Like Noah's Ark. Why is it Noah's Ark? Was it to do with writing songs to order 2 by 2? We're not totally sure about it. There's some nice electronic organ on it, and the instruments make it sound like a live performance. One little note on this is that Elton's dog apparently barked during the recording, and it is in there on the mix if you can hear it. The BBC didn't like this track too much, calling it a woeful Elton by numbers track. I'm not so sure I agree with that. It's pleasant. He's recorded many others like this. You think of Dear John, you think of Restless as well from Breaking Hearts. So we're not offended by it. We quite enjoy it, and we're going to give this a 6 out of 10. I think the way I'd compare this with Captain Fantastic is that Captain Fantastic has some really outstanding tracks on it, such as Someone Saved My Life Tonight and We All Fall in Love Sometimes. Meal Ticket as well, I really enjoy on that. Some other tracks are less impressive on Captain Fantastic, especially Tower of Babel, which I dislike particularly. So Captain Fantastic is uneven, but it does have moments of brilliance. The Captain and the Kid doesn't necessarily have those moments of brilliance, but it does have quite a good even flow all the way through of pretty good tracks. So I certainly urge you to have a listen to this and see what you think. Anyway, track 3 is Wouldn't Have You Any Other Way, brackets New York City. And this appears to be Bernie and Elton's memories of life in New York City. They clearly have an affection for this city, and as Elton sings, I wouldn't have it any other way. There's a really good natural piano sound on this. We're away from that tinny sound of the piano. It sounds good on this. There's one of those key changes for the refrain, which I'm never that comfortable with. It's always a bit of a shock to the system. But overall, there's a clean sound. There's a nice feel for the band here. And I think that we're going to give this one a comfortable 6 out of 10. It's another one of those pretty good songs without it being outstanding. Track 4 is called Tinderbox, and it opens with a prediction from Nostradamus. Not sure what that's all about, really. But the song seems to be about the potential conflict there was between Elton and Bernie, perhaps spending too much time together. Obviously, very powerful and creative personalities. Sometimes that can spark off problems, working too much together and warning of burnout. There's some dense lyrics here. Godzilla came in disguise. And there's kind of a 1960s feel to the chorus on this, which is quite enjoyable and a good hook in it. Elton seems to be suggesting here that you can't be successful all the time, although there's that pressure to be successful all the time. It's interesting where he sings the word sparks on this. If you hear it, there's a very pronounced R on that, which is quite good fun. Anyway, it's another one of those. We're having a row of these now. We're going to give 6 out of 10. Enjoyable track without being outstanding. The first side of the vinyl would close with track 5, And the House Fell Down. The BBC have described this track as a brutal picture of drug dependency. It's quite difficult to find much out about this album, actually. Doesn't seem to have been written about that much. And when you look up on the net for people's theories about different songs, there's not an awful lot there. So let's have your ideas about these songs, if you've got any thoughts on what they're about. This one seems to be about a feeling of paranoia from people who are suffering from drug use. It's set in a minor key. There's some background TV noises at the start, and the lyric is really powerful. I'm hanging over hell. When you're as high as this, you think you know it all. And there's a metaphor in this of the big bad wolf, possibly referring to drugs and a diet of cocaine and wine. So simply this was looking back on a really difficult time for Elton and his dependencies, which of course he bravely got through and transformed his life and brought us loads more music as well. So it was really brilliant the way he managed to turn things around. So this song has got a little bit of a hook in there, but perhaps not quite as good as the others before it, and we're going to give this one 5 out of 10. Side 2 opens with track 6, Blues Never Fade Away. And this seems to be about the sense that we're always lamenting somebody. We're always losing somebody. And there are different verses relating to different people. The first one possibly to do with Ryan White, who sadly lost his life. The third one refers to the Sun King, which possibly is John Lennon. I'm not sure who the second one refers to. It's a she, that's all we know, but maybe you know, and you could comment below about that. There's a great sense of loss in the lyrics, and this question of why did we get to live, and then this line from Elton, who makes the call and who gets to choose. So it's a little bit like this idea of life being a lottery. Some get to do well and some don't. So again, another enjoyable track without perhaps it being one of the classics. We can give this one 6 out of 10. Track number 7 is called The Bridge, and there were no formal singles from this album, although this was released as a radio single. Not quite sure exactly what that means. Maybe you can tell me. To me, this is the standout track on the album. There's a solemn piano opening, almost like a song from a musical, and of course Elton was writing for musicals by this stage, so some of that creative element could have come into his rock albums. The big question here is, do you cross the bridge or do you fade away? Maybe do you accept life's challenges and respond to them, or do you give up? The backing vocals just slightly corny in places on this, but to me this is a quality ballad. It's emotional, and it is the standout track for me on this album. It would have made a good single. I enjoy listening to this one. Notice in the little interlude, their piano interlude, can you spot some references to Your Song, especially to the opening chords of Elton's introduction to Your Song? I'm sure these have been placed there deliberately to tie in with this evocative sense of looking back in the album. So this one I'm going to give a solid 8-2. Good track. Track 8 is I Must Have Lost It on the Wind. This has a kind of Van Morrison style opening with the harmonica. Generally a jaunty Western style feel to the whole song. It's a story of former lovers and mentions a trophy catch or a curse. Was this a good relationship or a destructive one? And Elton talks about it taking him a long time to listen to advice. Well, we can all identify with that, I'm sure. There's some weird instrument going on the backing. It may have been created by a keyboard or synthesizer or something. Maybe you can tell me what you think is going on there. It's another one of those not too bad, not necessarily too good tracks, and is worth a 6 out of 10. Track number 9 is called Old 67. These are reminiscences, presumably about 1967. They're mellow, warm memories. And it's about Elton and Bernie sitting down for a chat about old times. They don't seem to get together that often. They live in different places. And there's a comparison here between their early days in Oxford Street and their latter days living in places like the south of France. The lyrics are evocative and are probably one of the best of Bernie's on this album. There's not too many original musical ideas in this one for me, but nevertheless it's a pleasant listen, and has elements that perhaps are revisited in A Town Called Jubilee, which we see on the later Diving Board album. So we're going to give this one 5 marks out of 10. Now, track 10 is a bit of an oddity because it's the title track, The Captain and the Kid, and it's also, for me, the weakest track on the album. And I don't think you can say that about any of Elton's other albums where the title track is the weakest. It's an upbeat song, a very heavy metaphor, slightly clunking in this. There's a stumbling over long, repetitive verse. And the refrain is really uneven and awkward and not at all memorable. It's about songwriting together. It name checks albums like Tumbleweed and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And Elton sings, I'm still spinning like a Catherine wheel, his hectic life, always on the road or writing or performing or producing. To me, this is a disappointingly weak closing track for the CD. Rather insignificant. The piano sounds good on it, but that's about all we can say for this track, which we're going to give 4 marks out of 10. Now, if you're fortunate enough to be able to access track 11, it's called Across the River Thames. This is again another story of events from Elton's background, and he seems to be sending himself up a little bit, so we can enjoy the references here to him dressing up as Donald Duck and being teased about his hair. The critics told us we're out of date, but I'm still here. Elton sings, again, a little reference back there to I'm still standing, and some things never change. So Elton here is saying he doesn't necessarily keep up with fashions in music, but there's such a quality to what he produces that he's always going to have a big fan following because we enjoy his music so much. There's a good beat to this one. There's an interesting lyric, and it's almost like a sing-along anthem, and of course it evokes London and the scene looking across the River Thames. So it's a pity it wasn't available on this album when you play it in your CD player, but access it elsewhere, and it's a pleasant listen and a 6 out of 10. Let's have a look at the 2 sides of music we've got there. Side 1, 5 tracks, 30 marks altogether. That's a pretty good mark, actually, for a side of vinyl. Side 2, if you include that extra track, comes to 35. Again, that's a very good return indeed. So whether you've got vinyl or CD, there's plenty to enjoy on this one, which again, for me, is not a classic album, But it's a good album to listen to, and not many weak tracks on this at all. They're all of a pretty good standard. So now let's have a look at the league table of Elton John songs so far. Skyline Pigeon, piano version, and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road are the only two I've awarded 10 out of 10 so far. But quite a good build-up now of 9s and 8s. And the one contribution from this album for the 8s is The Bridge. Good song, and I urge you to listen to that if you don't know it very well. Now, when we look at the bottom of the league, the only one from this album is the title track, The Captain and the Kid, which has got 4. But nothing below that from this album, which is quite interesting. And as you see at the bottom there, still only 3 tracks have been rated 1 out of 10. Tower of Babel, I Am Your Robot, and Heart in the Right Place. Now, the big reveal. How did the album do in terms of an average mark per track? Well, The Captain and the Kid came out at 5.91 marks per track. This is the league table so far then, with me having reviewed the 10 albums. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road at the top, narrowly ahead of Don't Shoot Me and Madman. They've got quite a lead. Then we've got a kind of a middle group there, The Captain and the Kid, Blue Moves, The Fox and Captain Fantastic. And then bringing up the bottom of the table there, Rock of the Westies, Too Low for Zero, and Jump Up. Thanks for watching, friends. If you want to subscribe, please do, and I welcome your comments, and please feel free to disagree with me on any of my comments or my rankings for individual albums or tracks. We're all Elton John fans together. We love his music. So I hope this finds you well, and don't forget, we're still standing. See you next time.